Hi, I'm Whitefield, and I'm doing my week 5 teaching presentation on numeric and associative arrays and what the differences are. It's very easy. I like the concept because it takes information and puts it into abstract little concepts that help us to organize the data, and it's kind of very cool. So let's get started. So the first thing is that let's just understand the real basics of an array. An array basically is a collection of data, as it says here, that has been arranged together in a data structure. Rather than having just a bunch of random variables all over the place, an array allows us to take and collect those data points and organize them in a way that it'll make it easier for us to recall them later, because we'll have a structure around how to recall those. The way that I like to think about these is using safe deposit boxes or safety deposit boxes as the analogy, because they're very organized. And if you look at this picture, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. So looking at this box, this set of boxes, you can see that they're organized into discrete units. That each box has a number or an identity, just like it does in computer memory. And each of those boxes can then represent a piece of data, something like a name or an age, or it's a piece of information that has an identity. You can have one piece of data like name, or you can have this bigger box, and it doesn't really matter. This box looks different than the rest of the array, but it doesn't matter, because at least in PHP, your arrays can be made up of different size pieces of data. They can be big numbers or small numbers. They can be this large, massive, huge number with exponentials, or it could be just a single letter. The size doesn't really matter. And in PHP arrays, the type of data that we're putting in there doesn't really matter. So it can be a data type like a string, or it can be text, or it can be an integer, or it can be a float. It can be all of these different things and still be part of the array. The rest of the data, it really doesn't matter. These can be other pieces of data, things like, what's their spouse's name, what's their favorite color, what's their favorite food, what kind of vehicle do they own. Whatever it is that we're collecting can be put into these individual boxes. Now, here's where the powerful part comes. Right now, we have 7 different pieces of data that are all related, but they're all just kind of random, and we have to remember each variable, and we have to do all this stuff. But if we put it together in an array, we can say, okay, all of these 7 pieces of data are related. And so we can say, okay, there's all of this, there's the name, the address, the spouse name, the vehicle, all of this is here, but it's going to be related together in something that we're going to call, for instance, client. So in an array named client, we're going to have all of these different pieces of data. And the thing that's really cool about arrays in most programming languages, and PHP is one of them, I can take an array like client, and I can even group multiple clients together in an array that has a name of customers. So, there's really no limit to what you can do, although, you might start to get confused if you have them all, you have 70 different arrays within arrays within arrays within arrays. But it still allows us to organize the data in a way that makes sense. We have a group of arrays called customer, and we have a group of arrays called client, and then we have individual pieces of data and all of that. It just allows us to really control and to organize our data in a way that makes sense and allows us to utilize it well in our programs and apps. So there are 3 types of arrays that we deal with in PHP. Now, the first is called a numeric array, and a numeric array is indexed by a number. So the name of the array might be clients, and we are going to have client 1, we're going to have a client 1, a client 2, a client 3, and a client 4. And they're going to be indexed by the number related to that position in the array. Now, keep in mind, arrays don't start with 1, they start with 0. That's the first position. So if I wanted to call up the client at array position, the first array position, then I need to call it up at client square bracket 0, because it's first in the index, and 0 is our first number. And if I want to call up the second, then I use square brackets 1, square brackets 2, 3, 4, until I've called up all 5 different clients. And so that's how that works. I don't have to have any special information. It's just simply here's my array of 5 pieces of information, and I want the first one, the second one, the third one, and I do that by identifying the index number. Is it index 0 for the first one, index 1 for the second, and that kind of thing. Another way that we can do an array is called an associative array. And what we're going to do is we're going to give each array position, instead of giving it 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're going to actually give it some sort of an ID and a name, if you will. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a key, which is the name of our variable. In this case, the key is name, and the value that we're plugging into that key, or that index position of name, is Fred. And so it allows us to have a little bit more control over more abstract pieces of data, rather than simply just having a list of things and just picking the thing that's fifth in the list. At this point now I can say, okay, I would like to have the piece of information that is at the index referenced as name, and pull back that information, which is going to give me Fred. The third type, and we really won't get into this, I'm not going to demonstrate it, but really all it is it's a multi-dimensional array, and that has the ability to use different types of indexing. So I can have I can have 2 arrays in my main array. I can have, whatever. And the first array can be indexed by numeric indexing, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the second array can be done through associative indexing, like name, address, telephone number, email, that kind of thing. So we won't really get into that, because really all a multi-dimensional array is in PHP is just, it's a mixture of using different indexing types like numeric and associative. All right, so what does all of this look like? Well, let's take a look at some of this code. So I'm going to move over to Visual Studio Code, and here I've written a small little PHP program that is going to do 2 types of arrays for us. I'm using 2 different methods. In this case, we're doing a numeric array, and again, that's one where I'm just simply putting a list of values into an array, and I am using the built-in numeric indexing of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to identify those values. So in this case, I'm creating an array using an array method, and I'm going to insert into these different index positions. Into index 0, I'm inserting the value 1. Into index 1, 2, index 2, 3, index 3, 4, and index 4 is getting the number 5. All right, and then that's going to print out those values for me. The other way that you can do it is by assigning the value directly into the index position. So I can say, okay, I have these numbers, and into numbers index position 0, I want to put the value 1. Into 1, I want to put the value 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4, 5. You can see how that works. And what that does when you run the program is it simply says, okay, I've put all these numbers into the array, and blank, and bam, here we go. In position 0, according to the for each loop, is value 1. In position 1 is 2, 2 is 3, 3 is 4, and 4 is 5. And again, it does the same thing in the array that we created, individually inputting each value into the index, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's 0 through 4 respectively. So you can do the same thing associatively. Again, we're going to use the array method, and we're going to assign them directly. But in this case, instead of having it automatically index numerically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to simply say, okay, I'm going to give the first array position, the name, the key of Mohammed, and the value that is going in there is 2000. For position 1, or the second position, we're going to call that Kadir. That's its key. Its value is 1000. For the third position, Zara is the key. 500 is going to be the value. And I can use that array method, and then to recall them, I'm just going to do this, where I'm going to say, okay, I want to get the salaries array that I created, and I want the value that is there to be printed out. I want that to be the value that is called Mohammed, or the value called Kadir or Zara. And it's the same thing if we do it individually. It's, we can assign it to salaries and assign it to a key of Mohammed and the value of high, Kadir, medium, Zara, low. But the recall method is exactly the same. And so you're going to go ahead and we're going to run this, and you can see it does exactly the same thing. It says, okay, I recalled the information that we inputted into the position of Muhammad, and it was 2,000. Qadir was 1,000. Zara was a 500. And again, that other method where we input it directly into the key itself without just putting the array method, Muhammad is high, Qadir is medium, and Zara is low. So that is essentially how all of this works. And it's really, the concept in programming is to say, look, what I want to do is I want to have all of this data. I want to be able to manipulate this data, but I want to do it in an organized fashion, in an efficient fashion. And that's what arrays give us. Arrays give us the ability to take data and to use it effectively and efficiently in our programs. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. And if you wanted to know, that's where I got my information. So I want to say thank you, and everybody have a great day.